The Evans Family Law Group, providing a full spectrum of family law services.
To me, it was kind of out of the blue that my wife kind of filed for divorce. We had just kind of started going through marriage counseling, and so it was a surprise to me. But afterwards, it sounded like this was kind of part of her plan to do the counseling, and then kind of spring it on me, I guess. She had a law firm representing her already, and felt like I was hit by a ton of bricks. I was kind of blindsided. We have 4 boys, and four boys with special needs, and so there were a lot of doctor's appointments, things like that. So on paper, it looked pretty cut and dry that I didn't have much of a chance, that sort of thing, to have kind of any involvement or involvement outside of what she dictated. And she kind of alluded to that several times, that there was no point in kind of resisting that sort of thing or confronting, because she was just going to win. I looked at reviews and things like that, and just kind of online search for a good attorney, with reasonable rates, that sort of thing. And Jimmy and the Evans Family Law Firm kind of kept coming up. And it was more kind of about Jimmy and his staff and the people that work with him, kind of more about how well they worked with people. I wasn't looking for a hotshot kind of lawyer that would just steamroll everybody. And so I was looking for a person who would kind of empathize, or at least understand my situation, especially as a father. I know that I wanted to take care of my boys, and that was kind of my main goal in all of this. Having 4 boys is reason enough, to kind of fight for them and things like that. But having them have special needs and need certain therapists and certain specialists, and different doctors and that sort of thing. Jimmy took the time to kind of understand what that meant, what that schedule looked like. And so Jimmy really understood that, I wasn't just fighting to keep them here. I was fighting to keep them stable, to keep them in their comfort zone, where they have proven that they can thrive, and that they've proven to be successful. And in my opinion, that they have the best chance to kind of succeed as young adults and moving forward. Before all this process, to me, I thought the law was very, very black and white, very black. Somebody's right, somebody's wrong. But in this process, I learned a lot of it is about really telling your story, telling the story that of the situation you're going through. And Jimmy did a really good job of understanding kind of what my story was. And again, as a father of 4 boys, in the eyes of the law, that to me it seemed like things were stacked against me to begin with. But again, Jimmy and Julio did a really good job of walking me through things and helping me tell my story to the jury and to the judge, so they saw the real picture, the real thing, what was really going on versus what was just black and white or on paper. I recall one instance where my ex-wife was trying to goad me into having some physical kind of altercation, so she could claim that I did something to her. And so, the first person I could think of to call was Jimmy. Actually, it was getting close to trial. There was kind of a lot of evidence that kind of came in at the last minute. So, and I asked Jimmy, hey, what can I do, that sort of thing. He said, well, just come, and this was a weekend. And so he said, hey, just come over, I'll be here, we'll be here kind of going through stuff. So I show up, and it seemed like, everyone in the office was there, it felt like, and they were all kind of working to put this case together. And so, I was very impressed, and I felt a little bit sad that they had to be there on the weekend, but I felt very, very thankful and very grateful that they would kind of put their energy and their time into that. This jury trial was an 8+ day trial, so it felt like there were lots of witnesses, and and a lot of them, you know, she called in a lot of family to kind of come in and testify for her. And I recall him mentioning, you know, he liked to touch every piece of paper, which is, you know, when you have 9-10 boxes of you know, volumes full of evidence, that's a lot of paper to touch. That speaks to him being able to personally relate to my situation and what I was going through. So he was able to poignantly kind of ask good questions of their witnesses as well as mine, because he was so well informed. We were able to tell my side of the story, and the jury was able to see that. And so you know, when the verdict came down, so I was able to get primary custody. The kids were restricted to staying in Travis County, which is, again, near their doctors, near their therapists, near their friends, near their church, near their school, near everything that's stable for them. And so we won on that account. And so, you know, there were several other things that kind of went in lockstep with those decisions. Those were the major ones. But it was, you know, as I mentioned, it was kind of a landslide in my favor, you know, and I, you know, I thank God, and I think Jimmy and his staff and his law firm for being able to you know, make that happen, enable that. That was a great outcome. He was genuinely interested in my well-being, and I don't think that was an act. And it's, you know, he's still interested to this day, even though, you know, I'm divorced and it's pretty much finalized. A TBR, which is a trust-based relational intervention therapist. I thought I had a good understanding of you know, being able to relate to them, and I do. But this just kind of added another level of expertise in my background, and following Jimmy's advice on that, I think really benefited me as well, not just from a court, you know, legal standpoint, but also just from a parenting standpoint. So a lot of times we, you know, we as fathers are, you know, have to have this macho kind of persona, that sort of thing, and not kind of be in touch with how much we do care about our children, because, you know, I see a lot of fathers that you know, do care, and I think in our society it's not necessarily, you know, something we talk about, but I think it's true. I think there are a lot of loving fathers out there, and I think if someone is in this situation that's going through this, that we all care about our children. Find someone like Jimmy to be able to tell your story. It's funny because, you know, when I initially came to him, I was just kind of hiring a lawyer, right? I was hiring a lawyer to represent me. It seemed to, yeah, maybe I lost a wife, but I've kind of gained several friends, I think, in all this, and several people that you know, have been invested in seeing me succeed. And so, even though, you know, a lot of times it felt like things were bleak in this process, it's kind of those kind of relationships, and having that relationship now with Jimmy and Julio is you know, kind of a you know, a silver lining in all of this. He's not just interested in just in the bottom line, but he's truly kind of interested in invested as you know, seeing people as human beings, and again, relating to, being able to relate to them in order to tell their story and you know, be effective that way.
When life's path takes an unplanned turn, call the Evans Family Law Group for a consultation at 628-2550. The Evans Family Law Group, providing a full spectrum of family law services.